to start, maybe if you're able to comment, just comment like what region you're from, what county or city that you're joining us from. I think that'll be interesting for us to see later on. But yeah.
And you can go ahead and do that through the chat box.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. Tevis Foreman here and Anna Bird with Produce Perks Midwest, and we're happy to speak to you about the work of the Produce Perks program, Ohio's nutrition incentive program. And Amanda, I believe I can control the slides here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so again, a little bit about Anna and myself. Though I would argue I can drink just as much coffee as Anna can. Yeah, so we, along with a lot of our partners across the state, are working to lead the Produce Perks program, to expand it, throughout the state and make it available to as many communities and individuals and families that we can. So a little bit about not just the Produce Perks program, but some of the work that's happening here at Produce Perks Midwest, the organization that's leading the Produce Perks program. We're also working with some local partners around piloting prescription programming. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with produce prescription programming, and there certainly are a lot of great examples happening throughout the state. But it's some of the work we're doing here locally within school-based health centers within Cincinnati Public Schools. We're working in partnership with Interact for Health and the Cincinnati Health Department and their school-based health center team. So in addition to the Produce Perks program, we're focusing on a few other initiatives and programs that still work to advance, address issues of equity within our food system, work to increase access and affordability to healthful foods, work to also create new market opportunities for our local farmers and local economies. Again, all premised on health and food access. So just a bit about our programming, and we're certainly happy to follow up outside of these contexts of this meeting to discuss this work in greater detail. So for those that may be unfamiliar with nutrition incentives, in short, it's incentivizing, the work is incentivizing the purchase of healthy foods. So we do that by providing a dollar-for-dollar match for individuals that receive food assistance, and we'll speak a bit more specifically to how it works. But nutrition incentives are supported and recognized as an evidence-based way of addressing healthy food access and working to combat issues of health and food inequities. Supported by the USDA through the FINI program, and FINI is an acronym, as you can see there, for Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentives. So it's been a part of the past Farm Bill, and all signs indicate that it'll be supported again in the next Farm Bill once all the dust settles around it. So again, nutrition incentive programming is happening throughout the country. Within Ohio, Produce Perks is our version of nutrition incentive programming, but again, it's a national model that is supported at the federal level on down. And so how the program works here in Ohio within direct-to-consumer locations. So we're operating the program both within direct-to-consumer locations, which is farmers markets, farm stands, mobile markets, CSAs, but we're also mindfully implementing within the grocery retail sector to be able to serve more individuals and families and communities as well. But the way the program works within direct-to-consumer sites at the farmers market setting is that a SNAP shopper will visit that farmers market, and they'll go, each market has a central market manager booth, an information type booth. And for SNAP shoppers, that's where they go to essentially think of it as an ATM transaction, to swipe their SNAP card for say $20, and in which time then they receive 20 SNAP tokens that they can use to shop throughout the farmers market. So at that point there, where they snap their swipe card or swipe their SNAP card and receive $20 in SNAP tokens, we also match $20 in Produce Perks tokens. So that customer has $40 to shop with. Now our Produce Perks tokens can only be used on produce, so fresh fruits and vegetables. But that also includes seedlings, starter plants for vegetables and so forth. So it's not just harvested fruits and vegetables. It also allows the consumer to purchase a starter plant or seeds to grow their own vegetables at home. So in short, that's how the program works. That alternate currency, that SNAP model for alternate currencies has been a model in place at farmers markets across the state. So when we were working at streamlining this program and making it as convenient for SNAP shoppers, we kind of piggybacked off of that alternate currency model. So again, a customer swipes their SNAP card and receives their designated amount of SNAP dollars, and at that time, Produce Perks matches those SNAP dollars a dollar for dollar, so the customer has twice that purchasing power. And throughout the state, where all Produce Perks programs are operational, our partners work to train and provide technical assistance to all of those market managers, so everyone's equipped to serve their customers as best as they can. And speaking of those partners across the state, this work has certainly been led by a collective group. And I'll get a bit to the history here in a moment, but you can see there the current partners that make up our Ohio Nutrition Incentive Network. Again, we recognize ourselves as a partnership for food retailers and producers and communities to all work to increase access and affordability to locally grown healthy food. So this work is certainly something that's led by the many there, as you can see, and a lot of these program partners had been operating nutrition incentive programming prior to the singular statewide branding of Produce Perks. Greater Cleveland, Columbus, the Akron, Summit County region, Toledo, Lucas County. Numerous regions of the state have been operating incentive programming, and so we kind of collectively came together to leverage our work, to streamline our work, and create greater impact. And that ultimately led to our award from the USDA for our Finney grant. And Anna will get into the details of that a bit more. But I wanted to acknowledge all the great partners that are helping advance this work across the state. And a bit of the history, this timeline shows it there a little bit, but as I mentioned, nutrition incentive programming has been operating in independent, kind of disparate parts of the state over the years. And roughly around 2015, we kind of collectively came together as an informal network at that time to begin discussing what a streamlined, singular statewide program might look like. And through support of partners such as Wholesome Wave and a Finney Award that they had received in 2015, we began a more formal process of coming together as a statewide network in 2015 into 2016, and then started putting the pieces in play throughout 2017 to put a proposal forth to the USDA on behalf of the state of Ohio that encompassed all of the nutrition incentive programs that were operating at the time, and those partners that were acknowledged on that slide before all kind of came to the table and put that vision forward, and we're fortunate to receive the award from the USDA, and we're leading it, into the next few years. So that Finney Award runs through 2021 and works to support the expansion into new counties, but also support expansion in depth into the existing counties and regions of the state that the program's also operating. And certainly happy to address any questions regarding, our history, our partnership, where we've came and where we're going. But I'm going to let Anna have some time here to really get into the work of our Finney proposal. And this slide here, before I hand it over to Anna, it just shows the growth that we've seen since 2011 through 2017. So throughout those years, we've seen annual growth in all facets of the program, from participating locations to increased SNAP recipients using the program to increase sales at the markets and so forth. So again, this slide just kind of depicts the annual growth that we've seen over the years. And there is a question before I pass it off to Anna regarding funding for prescription programming through the Finney grant. So the short answer is no. The final year of the Finney grant that we had put our proposal in for, which was this 2018 year, NIFA, the National Institute for Food and Agriculture, which administers the Finney program, had excluded prescription programming for awardees and applicants. So in past Finney years, as it had ran through the Farm Bill, there was monies available for prescription programming. However, the final year in which we applied for the for our Finney proposal, prescription programming was not an option. It was not being supported by those remaining Finney dollars. So no, it's not. But, we've heard indications that there may be federal level support through the USDA for prescription programming in the years to come. So it's work that we're collectively discussing and working to advance in a similar kind of parallel path that we've done with Produce Perks. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Anna now.
All right, so definitely keep the questions coming. There's 2 of us here, so we can kind of keep an eye on the comment box throughout the presentation. So definitely throw questions our way. So this, final slide about, data from last year kind of gives an overview of our footprint, our customer footprint. And we know it's actually larger than this just because data collection isn't flawless at all farmers markets across the state. So we know that we're actually reaching more zip codes than this. But I think this is a really interesting and great way to kind of see where our customers are coming from, see where the deepest impact is happening dollar-wise. All right. So the Finney Award. So Tevis talked about this a little bit already. We're just going to kind of take you through a little bit more detail about what the project entails and what we're hoping to learn from it. So we submitted this proposal, with the knowledge that there's a really great need in Ohio. So Ohio ranks 45th in the nation for food security. 25% of adults consume vegetables less than once per day, and 16% are food insecure. So we know that there's high need in Ohio, especially in rural counties. There's over 1.5 million Ohioans on SNAP. And those customers are spending over $2 billion in SNAP dollars. And so we think, we see this need in Ohio. We also see an opportunity to redirect some of those dollars to local foods, to fresh produce. So we were lucky enough to be awarded a Finney grant. Like Teva said, it's a 3-year grant. It runs through 2021, through April of 2021. We were awarded a federal award of $2.27 million, but it's a matching grant, so we had to raise as much as could be awarded to us. So between cash and in kind, the whole project represents a $4.6 million project. It was one of 8 large-scale Finney awards across the country. So those are Finney awards that are $500,000 or more. So it's pretty exciting. All right, so our overarching goals for the next 3 years are to really increase the number of SNAP consumers that we're reaching. So we're hoping to hit at least 70,000 over the 3 years. We hope to be impacting 2,300 farmers and really bumping up those incentive numbers to $3 million in purchase of fruits and vegetables. So ambitious goals, but even, this year in farmers markets, we're seeing, a 20% increase over last year in incentives redeemed. So pretty exciting numbers so far. All right. So the first goal of our Finney project is simply expansion. So we really wanted to start targeting more rural communities, as well as increasing the number of sites that are being offered within counties. So over the 3 years, we're hoping to grow to 125 direct-to-consumer sites. And so direct-to-consumer sites just represents or indicates farmers markets, CSAs, farm stands, or mobile markets. So, where that farmer is directly engaging with the consumer and selling to the consumer. We're also growing into the grocery store sector. So this past year, we've been in 11 grocery stores, piloting programs, piloting different models, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But we see that there's, just like farmers markets and CSA's mobile markets can sometimes fill a gap in food deserts where there aren't grocery stores. We also know that there are counties and areas that have grocery stores that might not have a farmer's market, or that it's just more accessible to purchase fruits and vegetables at a grocery store. So we are expanding into that sector, hopefully at least 27 sites over the 3 years. We're planning to grow into 35 counties. I think we're actually going to surpass that. Even perhaps next year we'll be close to reaching that with the interest that we've gotten. So this map shows our hopefully 2019 footprint, which is a significant growth. We're in about 24 counties now. And then also this past year, with the first year of Finney, we were able to increase the match to $20. So in years previous, most areas of the states had a cap of $10. So that has a significant impact in deepening our reach to customers and increasing fruits and vegetable purchases. Okay, goal 2. So this goal speaks mostly to the grocery store sector. So innovate and optimize scalable benefit redemption systems. So, Finney's really interested in how this work can be scaled and expanded both throughout the state, but also to build models that can be used nationally as well. And so that's kind of a big focus of ours. At the grocery store, Tevis talked in detail about how it works at the farmer's market with tokens. And at the grocery store, obviously, we're not using alternative forms of currency. So in our Finney project, we're testing 3 different types of redemption systems. So one is a voucher that the cashier, fills out with the matching dollars and gives to the customer to be redeemed at their next purchase. We're also working with some larger scale grocery stores who have the capabilities to create an automated coupon system that prints out at the end of the purchase. That coupon is redeemable for fruits and vegetables at the next purchase. And then a third method that we're trying is the discount model. So if a customer comes to the cashier, they'll get a 50% discount up to $10 at the grocery store for fruits and vegetables. So that's one thing to note at grocery stores, just because of volume and to be careful of our budget, we've capped incentive dollars at $10 per transaction rather than 20 at the farmer's market. So part of what we'll be producing by the end of the 3 years is a toolkit about these 3 different models and some of the best practices involved in setting up each, and that will be available nationally to people to use. And I should note right now that for this evaluation work, we're working with Case Western Reserve University, who's our evaluation partner. So they'll be sort of building all of these assessment tools and producing the toolkit with us. So we've got current pilot programs in Cleveland, in Wayne County, in Cincinnati, and in Lancaster as well. We've chosen to work with a couple of different types of retailers, both independent retailers that are really working to source locally. They might be family-owned or co-ops. And then we're also working with what we call, regional chain grocery stores as well, which kind of offer that scalability as we're looking to expand. But I should note that all of the grocery stores that we're working with, we're asking to, tell us how they're sourcing locally, how we can help them improve that. And that's the long-term vision, that once we get in these grocery stores, we can really make sure that those dollars are being used towards local produce. Although at the grocery store, it is not limited to local produce. All right. And then the third goal is really about making sure that everybody who has a site near them knows about it and building some of these partnerships. So we, in the last year, have adopted the USNAT We Match graphic that's on the screen there as the statewide promotional campaign. And so that's been really big in terms of us working with statewide partners. We have one campaign that we're using across the state, and I think it's helping in brand recognition for us as well. And so we'll be getting these postcards out through ODJFS, through WIC, through local partners, through farmers markets themselves distributing them. And then we're also looking, I would say actively, for more promotional partners. So if your organization is interested in partnering on this work, then definitely email us and let us know. We'd be happy to work with you to get you promotional materials. And likewise, we also have a goal of really increasing our Ohio Nutrition Incentive Network partners. There's so much work to be done, not just promotional, but in all kinds of areas. So again, if you're interested in working with us, or have something that you think you could offer to the network, then we would love to hear from you. And then the last piece in our marketing and promotion goals is to listen to our SNAP customers. And so we're running some focus groups throughout the 3 years. We're also planning to use social media to get feedback at sites, at farmers markets themselves, to really understand, are we serving our customers in the best way possible. Okay, our fourth goal is around evaluation. So FINI for large-scale projects is really looking for some kind of unique evaluation of what's going on in incentive programming. And so, like I mentioned, Case Western Reserve University is leading our evaluation efforts. And so I talked about that, sort of the bottom bullet there, of our retail implementation case studies to find out what's working well, what are best practices. And then the other piece is that we are planning to conduct cross-sectional surveys to find out whether, if a customer has access to both a farmer's market and a grocery retail site within their community, so within a couple mile radius of them, are they more likely to use the program? Are they self-reporting, eating more fruits and vegetables? How does that increased access points increase consumption? So we're pretty excited. That'll be running next year. We'll be running those cross-sectional surveys, so we won't have results until the third year of the project, but I think that there's sort of potential to help guide program expansion in the future from that.
And so beyond the work that we're doing, with the USDA through the FINI program is, we're looking to build this work into, the state legislature as well. So kind of a culminating step that we've seen on a national level is, states that have programming similar to ours here in Ohio, to the scope and scale in which they're reaching, their constituents. We've seen collaboration and partnership at the state level where state appropriated funds work to continue to support programming there. Now, some, completely support the program as a whole. Others are using those state level dollars to further leverage additional FINI and federal dollars. But it's work that we're doing here within Ohio as well. And we're getting ready to embark on a campaign to engage state legislators to not only, make them aware of this work and educate them on the impacts, but also to identify and build long-term support for programming to continue to serve the state of Ohio. And again, to Anna's, ask earlier, for those that are interested in collaborating and partnering on this work, from a programming perspective, we also, welcome and encourage those that are seeking to do policy and advocacy type efforts regarding food access and affordability and equities within our food system. It's, certainly the broader message that we'll be taking forth to our policy makers, and welcome partnership and collaboration in brainstorming around those efforts. But again, these are some things that we're pushing forward as well to help sustain this work in perpetuity.
So I think, we wanted to leave a good bit of time for questions. We find that usually there are many on these types of presentations. So if you want to start using the chat box to get some questions in, or Amanda, I don't know if we want to try opening some lines. We'd also like you to, if you have access right now, and can type to participate in a poll that we're going to have Amanda run here in a second, or Amanda, you can start it whenever, I guess.
There it goes.
There it goes. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. So we just wanted to kind of understand, again, who's hearing this. Do you have a site near you? If you, or maybe you don't, or if you're not sure, I think that can tell us some interesting information. And maybe while people are kind of thinking of questions, one that we get is often, if folks are interested in pushing a farmer's market or a grocery store towards us, that they think might be a good fit for the program. So we do have, an application process for new sites. I will say, so part of our goals under Finney are expanding to new counties that we're not already in, and especially to rural counties. So, we do kind of evaluate new applications based on some of those goals that are in the grant. But if anybody does have someone in mind, certainly feel free to reach out to us, and we can send along that application and engage in that process with folks.
So there's one question so far, Anna, that we could start on. So Monique asked, is there a way corner stores can benefit from these programs? And if so, what would that process be?
I'll start with that and then let Anna fill in. I think the short answer would be yes. Similar to the expansion into the grocery retail sector, I think that corner stores would again fall into that category of grocery retail. And similar to the work we're doing with independent and cooperative type stores, it's very individualized, and we just work with them on a case-by-case basis to identify, the assets they have within the store and the challenges that are needed to implement. And we just work to, resolve those challenges and implement the program within those stores. So yeah, I think corner stores certainly could be an option. And, part of the work that we're doing, and, many corner stores lack just they lack the healthy foods within those stores. And what we're finding as we continue to work with the grocery retailers is helping to bridge that gap, that supply chain gap from the local farmers and those access points. So I think that certainly is a method that would be applied within that corner store setting, is to work to connect them to our food producers as well. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would just say that, ultimately it comes down to, one, our budget, but then, under Finney, but then also the capacity of the grocery store owner. There is, I don't know if I would say significant, but certainly I'll just say significant data collection that's needed. And so we try and make it as streamlined as possible so that the store owner doesn't have to put in a ton of extra work, but it requires some capacity and commitment to data collection, which can be a challenge in smaller stores. Although, like Teva said, we identify those challenges and try and work through them as, best we can.
And again, Monique, I would suggest that if there are specific corner stores in mind, that have conversations with them, and please share our contact information. I find it's usually most effective to just have a phone call and discuss, the work and discuss what, their interests are and go from there. But I certainly don't think that one should exclude corner stores when it comes to program implementation.
Just so everyone knows, I did go in and allow everybody to speak if they want to. So everyone is by default muted, but everybody has permission to unmute themselves if they want to ask a question rather than using the chat box. So that's an opportunity. Just took me a minute to get it there.
Thanks.
I have a question, Anna, that might be helpful to the group. So in thinking about year 2 of the Finney grant and the ability to onboard new sites, is there a specific timeline that you guys have in mind where sites would need to be kind of on board by a certain date or have applied by a certain date? Is there any kind of schedule for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think earlier is always better. So in the past, we've always had sort of a rolling application, and if as space allows, we'll take on new sites. So there's not a hard deadline, but this year, for everyone's sanity, we're certainly that if new sites. So the Finney year runs from May through the end of April. So if they're launching in May of next year, 2019, we certainly would want to be in conversation with those sites in January, February at the latest, I think. But, that being said, we have taken on sites later in the season as we've had space. It's a great question.
Q1 of 2019 is a good time to engage in that manner.
So if we look at your poll, 80% of the folks who responded do know there's a service site in their area, and then 2 said they were unsure. So I'm not sure who those folks might be, to follow up with them and let them know if there is a site in their area. So the polls don't allow me to see who answered what question. So.
And in that regard, as far as identifying sites within one's area, on our website, produceperks.org, there's a locations tab and feature, and one could type in their zip code and, identify a range of 5, 10, 15, 20, et cetera, miles from that zip code, and it'll identify participating locations. So also please share that with partners and constituents and so forth, because it is really designed for the consumer, so the customers can identify markets and participating locations within their zip codes. And it also provides a host of other detailed information as well, market operation hours, days, etc. And in regards to locations and searchable functions for participating Produce Perks sites, we hope to have in 2019 launching a Produce Perks mobile app that, among other things, would provide that type of location service, for consumers to quickly access, identify participating locations. And again, the app will serve many purposes beyond that, kind of pushing seasonal recipes, etc. But there'll be a feature for individuals to identify participating locations near them.
Tevis, when did you say that might roll out?
We hope to launch it in early 2019 as kind of a phase one. Certainly about come May for the start of farmers market season, but I anticipate that will be live prior to the start of farmers market season in 2019.
So does the group have any other questions for Produce Perks Midwest? Ooh, here's one. So Morgan wants to know, what other criteria are you using to select new retail partners besides geography?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, within our Finney grant, we had sort of put forth those different tiers of retailers. So we have the small independent retailers, the regional retailers, and potentially a large scale retailer, like a large chain. And so, I think so. We have sort of caps within each of those areas. So we look at, so that's one thing. We look at that. We look at geography. We also look at, does the site have, are they valuing produce? Are they, do they have a significant amount for customers to purchase with the match? I think a big piece is just the commitment of the store owner. They have to commit to market the program, also to market any farmers markets or direct to consumer sites in their area. The data collection piece as well is a significant piece of it. So to date, we haven't had a ton of applications come through that we've had to kind of, make, decisions like that. So we're kind of still figuring out who's the best fit for the program, but usually through conversation, it comes through whether they are or not. I don't know if that's very clear.
Yeah, Morgan, the primary criteria at this point is geography. Are we able to reach new counties, additional consumers that aren't currently being served? And so that, that's the primary focus at this point. However, Tuana's, response that there are other criteria as far as just the willingness and the collaboration from the retailer themselves. Sometimes it certainly requires an investment on their end from a point of sale system. Again, and the manpower to do the data collection and so forth. So there's other, miscellaneous criteria, if you will. But to your question, in longer term vision, in our hope as we continue to grow and build this, is that criteria can primarily be focused on that retailer's procurement of local and regional foods. We want to be able to leverage the Produce Perks program to retailers in a manner that, if it is so significantly impacting their bottom line in a positive way, that we have criteria that requires participating retailers to source a certain amount of food from local, regional food producers, et cetera. We're not there yet, but as we continue to grow and learn from the program and expansion within the retail sector, that is certainly kind of a priority of ours, is to build those local economic impacts within Ohio farming communities and sectors. So we certainly hope to be able to leverage the program within the retail sector to have greater impact in that as well. Thank you for the question. It was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan followed up with, do you see that shift to local produce with the food retail sector happening in year 3 of this current Finney grant?
No, not in my opinion. I think that we're working to meet a goal along those lines by identifying the independent and the cooperative type stores, because they certainly do seem to make more of an effort and place more value on sourcing produce locally. So seeking to just mindfully expand into retail settings and stores that take that approach, but it's not a priority at the moment, or a requirement, I should say. It's certainly an interest and priority of ours, but it's not a requirement, and I don't anticipate that it would be one within this 3-year project.
And we're also trying to, use these pilot programs to collect some baseline information to understand, what is being sourced from Ohio growers already. And so I think that'll position us better to understand the system and how we can then increase that procurement.
Yeah, how to be a partner with the retailers in that sense along the supply chains. I think that many retailers would say they would love to source produce if it was more readily available for them, and if those channels were just stronger. So a work in progress, and our network certainly hopefully will help serve this purpose too, and just identifying those lessons and helping to overcome some of those challenges for retailers. I think many of them find it daunting, and then just kind of quickly turn to the easiest solution. So again, not within this 3-year period most likely, but lessons learned to help set the stage for the next go. I should also mention, when it comes to engagement with the retail sector, that the Ohio Grocers Association is a network member who's been working very closely with us to identify within their membership retailers that are interested in implementing the program, but also have that commitment to local procurement, have that commitment to community. We find that also varies within the retail setting. Some have strong commitments to community, others not as strong. So we've been working closely with the Ohio Grocers Association, as well as the Finance Fund and Healthy Food for Ohio, and the grocery stores that they're working to support and serve. So connecting to partners such as that is really helping identify the most appropriate retail stores to implement within throughout the state. So many thanks to those 2 entities as well.
All right. So if anyone has any other questions they want to submit, either through the Q&A box, the chat box, or to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and do that. If we don't have any other questions in the next minute or so, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today's convening.
As you can see, you have our contact information there. We're also big on phone calls too, so please feel free to shoot us an email or just give the office a call, and happy to jump on the phone and talk about the work, opportunities for partnership, expansion, etc.
All right. Well, I guess, just to say thank you to Anna and Tevis for presenting today for us and giving us some more background on the Produce Perks and how people can get involved. This is recorded, so this will be archived, sent out through the Ohio Food Policy Network listserv, as well as housed on the website. And so if you want to share this with some of your colleagues or revisit this, you'll be able to do so. And then just to put in a plug, we're going to begin to kind of start planning and designing the Ohio Food Policy Network virtual convenings for 2019. And so you'll see a survey through the listserv, get some feedback. And then also if your organization would like to present during one of our virtual convenings on some of your work, please let me know. Feel free to shoot me an email so we can get you scheduled. We're looking for any kind of organization in Ohio who's working on food policy or food-related projects to present maybe what some of their work is or some of their plans, or it could be a food policy council. It can really be anything. And so the purpose of these is to learn from each other. And so if you're interested in that, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, thanks, Anna and Tevis, and see you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.